Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Briefcase in the Barn. I think you'll really enjoy today's episode. It's me and my wife do a little Q&A. But before we get to that, the sponsor of today's episode is my coaching company, Furiously Curious Coaching. So I work with business owners and executives and entrepreneurs to be successful and achieving their goals in their business or whatever they're working on in a way that doesn't sacrifice on faith, family, and free time. And so usually we think those are at odds with each other. But that doesn't have to be the case. And so I take guys through a 10-week coaching program, journal-based coaching, and it's life-changing. If you look at the testimonials on my website, you can see that or talk to me, the guys that I've worked for. So I'm very good at what I do. It's very, very effective, and you just get to your goals a lot faster. Usually have better relationships with your family as well, and just altogether feel better. So if you're interested in that, and you sign up before the end of June, I will include 3 months of maintenance coaching for free. So after the 10 weeks is over, you get 3 months of maintenance coaching, which is a little different. And I explain that if you're interested in that. So if you are and want to sign up before the end of the month, hit me up. You can shoot me a text at 604-703-9045. Just shoot me the word interested or shoot me a thumbs up. And I'll send you a link to hop on a call, and we'll just chat, talk about what coaching is all about, answer your questions if you have any questions about it, and see if it might be a good fit. So if you're interested in that, hit me up. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy today's show. Welcome back to another episode of the Briefcase in the Barn, episode, I think, 47. Very special episode because we have my wife, Nicole, on. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You ready for this?
No, I hate this.
So why are you doing it?
You convinced me.
Oh.
Telling me that people want to hear what I have to say.
There we go. That's true. Yeah. Okay. I figured we start off with how we met. You want to tell the story?
I mean, we can tell it together too.
Yeah.
You remember different details than I do.
Okay, you jump in. So I worked at Rainbow Greenhouses for your uncle, actually, Ken and Bach. He was my boss. And they were building a new greenhouse. And so they dug a big hole in the back of the owner's field for gravel. It was a big gravel vein. And they dug it all up. And it ended up being a big pond because all the topsoil was around it. And they made a huge diving board, or me and Joel and Alan made a huge diving board into this, I don't know, lake, mini lake, whatever. And you came and visited BC one summer.
Yeah.
With your friends. And I thought this was this hyper-conservative Ontario girl I wanted nothing to do with.
And I thought, this is a partier. I don't want anything to do with him either.
And anyways.
I wasn't far off.
I wasn't either. Anyways, they're a group of girls. So you were part of that group of girls, and all the girls went slowly down the embankment. And this was a high diving board, probably 20 feet. I don't know, maybe higher.
High, yeah.
And without looking, you just ran off into the water. And so I thought to myself, there's something different about this chick. And so we didn't talk again for, I guess, until November.
Yeah, August to November.
Yeah, and then you were in town again visiting your Oma, and I got your number, started texting you. Didn't even know your name when I started texting you. I think I got it from Lois.
Yeah.
And I went to Holland that December, I think.
Yeah.
For New Year's, and on my way home, I decided to make a stop in Ontario and start dating at
that January.
Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
And then dated 6 months, long distance, right?
Yeah.
And you moved to BC and got married. The rest is history. I've had a great marriage ever since.
Yeah, happily ever after.
No issues. Okay, so we got some questions. I'm curious how she puts up with you every day.
This is partly why I didn't want to come on, because I like to keep people guessing. It's kind of like when we were in New York, you had a cap made that said, a bright red cap that said, make Canada great again, which is like satire, or like it relates to the Make America Great Again. And New York is obviously very liberal. And so we would walk around and people would notice his cap, and then they would right away see who was beside him and be like, who
is this chick?
what girl would want to
Date him.
be okay with that. So I have that a little bit with our history.
Yeah.
Just kind of like staying in the background.
Obscure.
Yeah.
Okay. So
But how do I put up with you every day?
is it hard?
Some days, yes.
What days?
Yeah.
What are hard days?
What are hard days? I think when you're very focused on something and then everything else doesn't matter. And then I kind of feel like me and the boys kind of take the back seat.
Yeah. How often does that happen in your mind?
Do you want to know the truth or a nice answer?
Yeah, tell me the truth.
I think it goes in waves, and lately it's been more.
Okay. Okay, that's the bad side. What about the good side?
The good side? The good side is...
Or how do you put up with the good side?
How do I put up with the good side? The good
question
side's
was-
easy. The good side's fun. The good side is you're engaged and you put a lot of effort into the boys and you're pretty open to hearing negatives and trying to make things better.
Yeah. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Tips. Next question. Tips for how to live with someone with ADHD.
Tips. Let them be would be a big one. Don't fight it because you'll just end up being miserable and you'll get nowhere. So let them and join, be interested, and maybe try to learn about it. So when you understand, then it's a lot easier to deal with. And
was it actually something you needed to learn with me?
I think over the last 4 years, it is something I learned. Yeah. Yeah.
And you might actually have it anyway as well.
Maybe.
ADD at least.
Yeah.
Reminds me of a psychiatrist telling me that as when I was a little kid that he always hoped that his paramedic, if he had gotten into a car accident, had ADHD because they get generally have better focus in high pressure situations.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Feel free to jump in. Questions for me.
Okay.
You said you had.
I haven't. What? No, I haven't thought of any.
Going on to having more children after your loss of Grace. So if you don't know, we have 3 boys and a girl, but our girl was stillborn on November 30th, 2019. We've had 2 boys after that.
Mm-hmm.
How did we actually decide to have more kids?
I think right after we lost her, when we got pregnant with Peter, for me it was, I didn't want the age gap between Malachi and the next kid to be too crazy big. And so I think we got pregnant 5 months later. And they're almost 4 years apart.
Did you have much fears around it at the time of being pregnant again?
At the end. At the end is when I get stressed. Yeah. The beginning is fine. Yeah. Beginning, I'm pretty relaxed still.
I don't think at that time we had much of a discussion either, though, of like, should we have more kids or not? It was like, we were barely talking at all anyway.
Yeah.
We were just, because I didn't even actually really mourn that year.
Yeah.
It wasn't until later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and same with Oliver. I was just stressed at the end.
How did you become so dang gorgeous?
Thanks, Julie.
Okay. Yeah, that was Julie. Advice for struggling marriages.
Without being cliche?
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty open.
Yeah.
It's a pretty open-ended question, but.
Yeah. I think looking back, every couple is different. Every story is different. Just start taking steps to heal. Even if you think you don't have healing to do, take steps forward.
What if the other person doesn't want to?
What if the other person doesn't want to? you can you can't heal anyone but yourself. So take steps in that direction.
Talk to someone.
There's lots of stuff. There's a lot of resources. Like doing Family Right has a lot of resources. But also focus on the family. Reach out to someone that is a stranger, essentially, I would say.
Why that?
It's easier to just open up. It's easier just to tell what's really going on. Because who cares? Who do they know?
Yeah.
And pray a lot. Because even in the moment when it feels like Jesus isn't close by, you look back and you realize he really was. He's right there.
What would you have told yourself 4 years ago? Like, what did you need to hear?
I don't know. There's so many things. There's so many different people that were just somewhat involved, and so much advice that just would kind of go over your head, but you needed to hear over and over that. I don't know if there's any one specific thing that really sticks out.
Who had the biggest impact on for you? Who was the biggest support? I mean, we had different people over the years, but
yeah. I think the people that were the most supportive were people who had gone through stuff themselves. And I mean, everyone goes through stuff. So typically that would be people who are like 20 plus years ahead of you.
Yeah. And I've come out the other side better for it.
Yeah.
Everyone goes through stuff. Not everyone deals with it.
Yeah. Yeah. People who haven't stayed stuck.
Yeah. Why do you think there's such a temptation to stay stuck? Like, why are there so many people that are stuck?
It's scary.
Yeah.
It's very scary.
It is, yes.
But just push through anyway. The pain is worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Okay. When should this is kind of a weirdly worded question, but is it good to say no to volunteering sometimes? When will you know if your spouse doesn't tell you? So if I'm doing too much outside of the home, like volunteering or work, whatever else like that, how do I know, or how would another guy know that it's too much, especially if you're not communicating it?
Ooh, well, that would be on him to figure out if the spouse isn't communicating it. I guess like if you're not connected and you're kind of falling apart, it's a pretty good sign that something's not right.
Yeah, I would say if your spouse doesn't tell you, then there's already something wrong, that you're not communicating properly.
Yeah.
Or that she's not communicating properly. But then to ask. Right? You can ask, like.
Yeah, you can ask. But if she's not telling you,
I'm assuming
there's a good chance she won't say, even if you ask.
Really? I guess.
Yeah, because if she dares to be honest, then she would already be honest.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, if you're falling away, like separating from each other emotionally, and not connected, and not in tune with each other, then
it's gonna happen quick.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you deal with cheating?
That's a loaded question. Oh, so many ways. I would say in the beginning, I shut down. I didn't know what I was dealing with. I think one thing that I had to really work on was not shoving things down and away. So that's what I did initially. I just went numb.
Which you would have been doing for a long time.
For any situation, yeah. And then once we really started getting counseling and I started learning the effects of being cheated on, then anger. A lot of anger.
I remember.
A lot of anger.
It's not actually that funny, but
yeah, it was very painful. A lot of anger, and then slowly like opening up. So anger isn't a bad thing, and like learning that it was okay. I definitely like acted out in anger, which would be wrong. I think I hit you once. I did hit you once. It was around that time that I started daring to like really tell you what I was feeling. And then like as time went on, I think anger was always involved. Anger, hurt, pain, and then like just feeling like I just really didn't matter to you. But then how did I deal with it? Talk to people, counseling, process it, get it out, give myself time to think and process and process and process. And like, just there's like kind of a loop where like, it's almost like grieving, I would say. Like there's 5 stages to grieving. Initial is like denial, and then it's anger, and then it's sad, or like sad, then depressed, and then hopefully you come out stronger on the other end.
I'm just Googling that right now, but okay, so you had that. What about what did counseling do, or how did you end up forgiving? How did you move on?
I think understanding that it was like just like a grieving process really helped. So I let myself just go through that process. A lot of it, a good chunk of it on my own, and then counseling was also part of the processing and just helped me not feel crazy, like I was crazy. And then attached to counseling was like a 12-step program to heal. And then freedom session really helped work through. That was almost more things from my childhood that helped work through. I felt like I actually had processed and dealt with a lot of the effects of cheating before then. Because we had just an incredible counselor.
Shout out Dave Curry.
Yeah, for sure. Which, if you are getting counseling and it's not the right fit, like, find someone else.
And how do you know? Because sometimes the guy or the girl will say it's not the right fit because they don't like hearing the truth. Because like I've heard a lot of counselors not like Curry for that reason. Because he will call you, shoot you straight.
I guess that's like, you have to know that for yourself. You'll know that yourself.
Yeah.
So this is like advice for someone who actually really does want to change.
Yeah. What made you want to change? So I remember, like I've talked about it before on the podcast, where you said to me, deal with the pain of your childhood, or deal with the pain of not being married. You can't have both. What was your motivator? Why did you keep going?
I love you. And that can sound like really crazy, but love isn't just something that you can just turn a switch. You can't just like, oh, like you get cheated on and like, okay, love is gone. Done. There's way too much processing involved with that to just cut the cord then and there. Like, it's impossible. Which then in turn like gives you the chance to prove what you want. And show that you'll do the work.
It's pretty awesome to be sitting. When we talked about it before we started recording, but I think it's a miracle that we're sitting here.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, the 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
Okay.
Anything else you want to say to that? If there's someone listening that has cheated and nobody knows yet, what would you tell them?
I would say get in contact with Doing Family Right. get a counselor who specializes in cheating. Spill your guts, and then they hopefully will give you advice on how to move forward and how to tell your spouse.
And what if you're the spouse and you just have found out, but you don't know what to do? I mean, you got to talk about that already, but
yeah, I guess go to doing family right is like, I guess would be my go-to.
yeah. If someone is listening that would want to talk to you, would you be willing to talk to them?
Yeah, I would definitely be willing.
Yeah. I'll put your email in the description.
Okay.
How did you become a Christian?
If I think back even to being a kid, that was always on my mind, but I was always just terrified. I would actually have nightmares about it.
But what?
About not being saved, and like my nightmares would be like I'd be like falling forever. Like in a big like tunnel and just falling. Can't get out, can't stop, can't nothing. And then meeting you, and you already professed, was like intriguing. And I would just like try to pray and try to get my act together kind of thing, and try to do the right thing, but like pretty lost. And then your dad preached about how the covenant that God made with Abraham came years and years and years before the covenant he made with Moses, which is the law. And I subconsciously thought that I had to like follow all the laws and commandments before I could come to Jesus, before like I would be accepted. And realizing that faith, the covenant with Abraham, which is faith, came way before the law, like I was just like, it just blew me away. It just like, I guess, sunk in. The Holy Spirit just like sunk that into my brain. And then about a week or two later, we went to Arizona, which Desiring God, which is John Piper's ministry, was putting on a retreat. And so we went, and I was I think I was 7 months pregnant, 6.5, 7. And then we met a couple there, Peter and Sharon Hedstrom. And I just remember you being pretty open at dinner with them the one night. And after that, you asked if they would pray with us. And so they said, yeah. So we found a spot to go pray by the hotel. And I don't really remember a lot from the praying, but I remember thinking like, whoa, this is like the first time I've heard another woman pray like genuinely, not like a form prayer. And that was really cool. And then after that, the only way I can really describe it is Jesus just came like a bright light in my mind's eye. And I knew that I was saved. So for me, it was like a defining moment. But yeah, that's the start.
I remember flying home from that trip and you were crying on the plane. Yeah. I had no idea what to do yet. How long after till you started talking about it until you had like confident assurance that you could tell people that you were?
I had assurance right from then.
You knew it right. But what about talking about it?
I mean, I attended the Lord's Supper, the next one.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. You're actually pretty bold.
When I'm sure, yeah.
That's true. When you're sure, watch out. Okay. And what would you say to someone that isn't sure or that is struggling in their faith, struggling to see if like Christianity can be for them, if they can be?
I think a big one for me, I mean, the main answers would be to keep praying and keep reading the Bible. Like, don't stop, don't give up. But also find people who are seasoned Christians, and you just can see the change in them, a change that isn't normal. Like it's not. it's people who just.
It's real.
Yeah, it's just super real.
Like-
it's something outside
Like Peter and
themselves.
Sharon. I mean,
Yeah.
they might listen to this, but like it was like when that couple that you referenced, Peter and Sharon, they for the listeners, they would come over to her house, and it was literally like someone opening the front. It was like someone opened the front door and God bending down and blowing into her home.
Yeah.
It was just like it was palpable.
Yeah.
And their love for Christ and how loving they were towards us. And they were actually the first people I told, besides Kim, my coach, that I'd been unfaithful when I was in Minneapolis because I trusted them so much. And yeah, you definitely, I mean, I think about that with other people that didn't have the support system that we had, how hard it must be.
Yeah.
What's one thing about me that listeners should know that they might not know?
I think this would apply to anyone, but there's more to people than what you see. There's more depth, there's more going on, there's just always more.
That just leaves people with way more question marks.
Okay, I would say that Kyle is a lot more caring than he might come across as.
Well, choke up. Okay, we're not going to do that here. Thank you. How did you navigate the season when my success came at the expense of the home life? So when I was traveling as much as I did and just always gone and not focused on the family, how did you make it through that?
It became like the norm. Like it was so often that like that was just the normal. And it was kind of like I had two different lives. Out of the life when you were home and out of the life when you were not. And I just boxed them up. Which made it hard for you because I would kind of disappear when you were gone.
Yes.
I wouldn't like reach out that much. We wouldn't talk that much. And I think to a certain degree I was in just like survival mode, just single parenting, and just didn't have the mental capacity to and the emotional capacity to reach out to you when you're like so far away. Or to even though you were just a phone call away, it was still felt like you were just very far away.
What's it like now now that I'm a coach and everything's changed? Like how is it from your perspective, me having the job or the company I have now? And so what
You're
I do
in the
for work?
house every day?
Yeah, that. What about the work I do? Like what does it
The work specifically?
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. I think God has given you like incredible gifts to help others. And I guess like your past actually kind of helps in a way. You said that Trey said that you have a really good ability to like see through the smoke, and I would definitely agree with that. I think that's a really good way to put it.
One thing I think I'm gonna answer the question that people might not know about Nicole. I mean, people don't know almost anything about you, but that you're pretty athletic. Like you're a pretty good skateboarder. Like I'd be dead.
I'm not anymore, but
I think you're still pretty good. You're very competitive.
Yeah.
What else would there be? Very, very loyal.
Yeah.
Thought I'd answer too.
Okay.
How do we handle disagreements and fights now? In the past, I think like the first 7 years we were married, we barely fought.
Yeah.
Or at least when we were upset anyways, we just didn't.
I just shut down, yeah.
And I shut down. Just avoid each other.
Yeah.
What about now? We had a little bit of a couple days ago, what was it? I was on your phone. Because I only have 15 minutes a day of.
We didn't even talk about this yet.
No, we could talk about it here. So I only have 50 minutes a day on my Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, my 3 apps on my phone all together. And so once in a while, I'll go on Instagram on Nicole's phone on my account if I need to post something or do something. And so she was in the living room, homeschooling the boys, and I grabbed it on the counter and I was on it. And you were not happy I was on your phone. And I was like, I don't know why you're so upset. Like, take a chill pill. And then I had to leave for lunch meeting and I give you a kiss, which you reluctantly gave me. And then we were fine. In the past, that would have been, could be a couple weeks or few.
Yeah, so that's a pretty minor one.
That's really minor, yeah. I don't feel like we fight that much.
No, I think the last one was I actually initiated the fight.
Oh, what did you do? What was that?
I said always or never. Kyle does not do well with absolutes. To me, always is 85% of the time.
Yeah, it's just not what it means.
And same with never.
Yeah, well, what I always did or something.
We were drifting apart and I was getting like, I was getting kind of tense. It was over a couple weeks, I think. And we were just kind of drifting apart and like, I figured it was time for a fight.
Okay, 2 more questions.
But our fights end up now. We end up actually we get like pissed off at each other at first for a little bit and then we cool off and then we talk about it and then it's okay.
Yeah. And I think we'd say pretty good at talking about it too. Usually heart talk, which is repeating back what the other person's saying.
Yeah, making sure you're understood and stuff. But I think we've also gotten a whole lot less sensitive.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. My leg hurts so bad right now. Okay, 2 more questions. What's your best parenting advice? How do you parent well as a mom? What's the most important attribute of, you think, as a mom raising kids?
Well, I think a really huge one is dealing with your childhood and the hurts and stuff that I'm assuming everyone has to a certain degree.
Why is that important?
Because you'll just spew out all your stuff on your kids if you don't. And it'll come out in all different ways. Anger, impatience, not spending time with them. Like there's many, many, many ways that comes out. And then I think for my kids right now, at least, is time. Quality time, I think, is a huge for them. Playing. Find things that you enjoy doing with them.
Together. And not with your third wheel, the phone.
Yes. Yeah.
Intentional.
Yeah. And if you hate playing, I did too. I still do sometimes. But push through, do it anyway. And it gets easier.
Okay, I think we're almost at max here. I think it's long enough. Good Briefcase in the Barn episode. Our favorite vacation, our favorite memory, I'll close with that.
I think my favorite is, I think it's still New York. Barnabas Landing is a very close second.
That New York trip was really fun. We went to Washington D.C., New York. Yeah. Went to Mets game. Yeah. At Don Jr. I'm still mad I didn't take you with for that. And I don't
know if I would have wanted to.
Dream vacation? If you could go
a cabin by the ocean.
That would be freaking awesome. If you have a cabin by the ocean, let me know. Okay. Anything else you want to say?
Lean heavily on Jesus. He's right beside you in the muck, in the mud, in the filth. He's right there. So you might as well lean on him. He's there. Even if it doesn't feel like it. Lean on Jesus.
And if you don't know him yet?
Lean on Jesus.
Yes, he's the answer. Awesome. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, like, comment, share, subscribe. And we'll be back next week with Gary, I think. And maybe we'll do a little bit of overtime now as well. So if you're signed up for overtime, thanks for that. If not, go to patreon.com/Furiously Curious. Peace.
Peace.
I'm keeping that in there.